What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. And in this video, I want to touch on the Cincinnati Bengals and Miami Dolphins Thursday night football game that happened last night. And so the Bengals entered the game 1-2 at home. They were rocking the new, clean, all-white jerseys. Those were pretty cool. And then the Dolphins entered the NFL as one of the only two undefeated teams at the time. They were 3-0, with a chance to go to 4-0. But they obviously lost the game. As we all know, the Bengals won the game 27-15. But that is not the story that is being talked about for this game. The story is Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa suffered a very serious injury, head and neck injury in the game, and he had to be strapped up and taken to a hospital in Cincinnati because it was so bad. If you haven't seen the injury, you can go watch it on your own. I'm probably not going to show it on here just because it's pretty graphic. So if you haven't seen it, I'm sure you can find a clip of it somewhere. But the backstory of this is, in Miami's win against the Buffalo Bills on the previous Sunday, Tua got slammed to the ground pretty hard, and you could see his head obviously jerk back and get slammed to the ground. And when he got up, he clearly was hurt, and he was hobbled, and he was wobbling around, and he fell down to the ground and got back up, and the Dolphins took him out of the game immediately. But somehow he was cleared to come back in and play in the game. And after the game, the Dolphins and coach Mike McDaniel described it as a back injury. There was nothing with his head or neck that happened. They called it a back injury. And obviously, if you watch that play, all NFL fans know, the NFL, even the Dolphins at this point know, that was probably most likely, it was not a back injury. You could see there was definitely some head trauma that occurred there, and you could just see it from when he was getting up. And obviously a quick turnaround for the Dolphins as they had to prepare for this Thursday night game against Cincinnati. So you beat Buffalo on Sunday, and then you only have 3 full days off, and you go and play Cincinnati on Thursday night. And what happened was, on a play, Tua was sacked, and he was thrown down to the ground pretty violently. He was swung down, and then you could see him immediately start clenching his hands, and he wasn't really moving around. And so, like I said, they had to come and get him strapped up and taken to the hospital. And while the game was still going, the Dolphins did report that he was able to move all of his body parts and that he was conscious. So obviously that was the great news, the best news that came out of that night, honestly. And it just goes into a discussion of player safety in the NFL and whether the NFL and these teams are truly putting player safety first. Because if they were putting player safety first for the Dolphins and Tua, he shouldn't have even played. He shouldn't have played last night. And 2, he shouldn't have even returned against the Bills. He shouldn't have come back against the Bills. I can't remember if the Dolphins were winning at that point, but it doesn't really matter. Player safety has to start becoming a true priority in the NFL. And when you look at what happened to Tua on Thursday, it's a really unfortunate situation. And you can see that obviously the coach, Mike McDaniel, is going to say after the game that they did everything they could. He was medically cleared. All the doctors said that he was fine, but he shouldn't have played last night. And I get sometimes with players, they want to show their toughness and go out there and do it for their team. But what happened to Tua, it was a situation that was completely avoidable. And I guess some people could say it and label it as a freak accident. But the point is, he got hurt really badly, and he's at least going to be out for, I'm sure, what is going to be a few weeks. So I just really think that the NFL has a issue with not necessarily putting player safety first. And yeah, it's a very unfortunate situation, and obviously hoping Tua's okay. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say for that. And like I said, if you haven't seen the clip yet, I'm sure you can find a clip of it somewhere with what happened with his injury. And so the next topic I want to talk about with the NFL is the Cowboys and Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott and this little quarterback controversy that we may have in Dallas, because Dak Prescott goes out, stinks it up against the Buccaneers. He did get hurt, so you have to give him that little caveat, but before he got hurt, he was playing like absolute trash, so I'm not going to give him too much of an excuse. And then the next week, they come out against the Bengals, and they beat Cincinnati with Cooper Rush at quarterback, and then the following week, they beat the Giants. And so now they're 2-1, hosting the Commanders at home. And based on how Washington has looked, I would say that Dallas should win the game on Sunday, but obviously we don't know how that's going to go. And so I just think there really shouldn't be a quarterback controversy in Dallas, because I don't get why everyone's getting so excited with Cooper Rush. Like, the Bengals was a great win, and like I said in previous videos, Dak has had trouble beating really good teams. And so for Cooper Rush to come out and beat the Bengals, that was a convincing statement win. But getting all excited because they beat the Giants is just not right. We've seen the Cowboys come out and beat the Giants basically. I think the last time the Cowboys lost to the Giants was the final week of the season when Andy Dalton was there. The season Dak hurt his ankle, and they lost to the Giants, and then they ended up losing. They could have made the playoffs if they won that game, but they lost. And I think that was the last time the Cowboys lost to the Giants. I'm pretty sure Dak Prescott as a starter has only lost to the Giants one time, and it was his first professional regular season game when they lost to the Giants in week 1. I'm pretty sure that is the only time Dak Prescott has lost to the Giants as the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. So beating the Giants isn't anything to get too hyped up about. When Dak Prescott is healthy, he should come back and be the starting quarterback, no questions asked. One, because he's better than Cooper Rush. You can just look at that by watching them play. Cooper Rush may know the offense better. Dak Prescott may not be mountains and mountains and mountains ahead of Cooper Rush, but he's clearly the best quarterback on that team, and so he should come back and play when he's healthy. And then 2, you just got to look at how much money they're paying him to be their franchise quarterback. You can't give a quarterback a 4-year, $160 million deal and have him sit on the bench. If they want to think about trading him at some point down the line, that's a different discussion for another day. But if he's healthy and he's going to come back this season, he will be the starter, and there's no quarterback controversy in Dallas. Cooper Rush isn't, but I do think, however, the one debate that's been had over the last few weeks about the situation, the topic of Cooper Rush putting pressure on Dak Prescott, I do agree with that. I think Cooper Rush is putting pressure on Dak Prescott to come back and play really well, because what happens is if the Cowboys come back with Dak and they struggle, fans, media, everyone, they're going to be like, hey, the Dallas Cowboys were 2-0 with Cooper Rush, or whatever, 3-0, depending on if they win this weekend and he comes back the next week, because I don't think he's going to come back next week. I think he's aiming for a week 5 return, I believe it is. So let's just say they beat Washington, for argument's sake. They beat Washington this week, and they're now 3-0 with Cooper Rush at quarterback. Cooper Rush moves to 4-0 as a starter, and Dak comes back and starts stinking it up. You're definitely going to have people saying, why would Dallas put Dak back in there when things were going well with Cooper Rush? So when Dak comes back, he can't just come in and play average, beat up on the NFC East, lose to every formidable good team they face. He needs to come back, play really well, and Dallas needs to get some convincing wins and prove that they actually have a chance to do something if they even make the playoffs. If Dak Prescott comes back and doesn't play well, it's going to be a long and very interesting offseason in Dallas. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen, but it's definitely going to ruffle some feathers with a lot of people, starting with Jerry Jones and on down, trickling on down, if all the way down to the fans, if Dak comes back and he doesn't look good, because they have a formula that's working right now with Cooper Rush. They're running the ball well. Cooper Rush isn't turning it over. He's finding open receivers. He really seems to like Noah Brown. CeeDee Lamb's getting a little more involved, even though he had that big drop against the Giants. So, yeah, Dallas has a formula that's working, and if Dak comes back and messes that up, he's going to be in some hot water in the offseason. So those are the 2 things I wanted to talk about this video. 2 was injury and the issues with player safety in the NFL, and the quarterback situation in Dallas. So if you like this video, make sure to share, like, comment, and subscribe, and find all of my content linked in the description. Thank you for watching.